Welcome back to another video, and thank you for tuning in. Today we have some updates from Busch Gardens Williamsburg's Howl-O-Scream. But before we get into that, on this channel we cover horror, theme parks, travel, and much more. So if that's your thing, consider browsing my channel and subscribing. Howl-O-Scream at Busch Gardens Williamsburg is one of our premier Halloween events in Virginia. Last year was the event's 20th anniversary, and we got a lot of build-up and anticipation to the event. This year they decided to go back to previous styles, and that is basically releasing everything at once instead of slowly releasing information like they did last year. I'm not a really big fan of this style. They really didn't change much compared to last year as it comes to houses and scare zones. One thing we do know is that Jack is back, and I'm a huge fan of icons for events of this style. Now let's get into all the updates, starting with the houses this year.
Updates.
So like I said earlier, this year we're going to have a lot of houses that are returning from last year, starting with Cirque du Sinistro. This house is not of this world or of this time, but crazed clowns roam its tents looking for victims. Next, we have new to last year's event and returning this year, Demented Dimensions. An interdimensional vortex has opened, releasing creatures into our world, placing us, the humans, at the bottom of the food chain. Following that, we have our third returning house in Dystopia. In a futuristic, post-apocalyptic world, utopia is not what it seems. Another returning property that will bring you chills is Frostbite. For those of you daring enough to enter the castle, be careful, for this ice has teeth and this frost bites. And our last returning house from last year and years prior, Lumberhack. Hikers beware, in this abandoned logging house, saws rip into human flesh instead of tree bark. And with our last house, I hesitate to say that it's new, as it's a play off of last year's house, Vault 20. This is the Vault Overtaken. Joining this new scare, we have Jack, released from his vault, wreaking havoc with creatures from our past. Now that is it for the house, majority of them all returning, so let's jump into the scare zones. Alrighty, so for this one I'm going to save us some time and just read them all off in a list. We have a bunch of scare zones, and all of which are returning. So we have Axe Alley, which is an extension of Lumberhack. We also have Fool's Court, which has all the court gestures dancing around. We have Garden of Souls, which is kind of like a play off Dia de los Muertos. Ripper's Row, which has to do with Jack the Ripper, and he's roaming the streets. It's right in the entrance of the park. We have Sideshow Square, which is right by Cirque du Sinistro. It's where all the clowns are and the chainsaws. And then last but not least, we have Vampire Point, which, the words say it alone, it's where all the vampires are. For the most part this year, you could expect all the same kind of presentations as last year, with a little bit of a twist of having an icon or a host to kind of manage the event. And that is Jack. Jack is a welcome familiar face, and we will encounter him in a spin-off of last year's Vault 20 house, which is the Vault Overtaken. And then also we have a whole new escape room, which will be based around Jack. Now this event is always a great time and a must for me locally every single year. The more support this event gets, the more improvement that we will see year over year. So join me this year in going to Howl-O-Scream at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. And I look forward to the year that we bring our first intellectual property to Howl-O-Scream, and it starts competing with the likes of Universal Studios and Disney. So in the comments down below, let me know what you're looking forward most to this year. Also, are you a fan of the event and the recycling of properties every single year, or are you not? Let me know in the comments down below. Now that is it for this one. As always, peeps, please hit that like button if you enjoyed this content, subscribe to the channel to show your support, follow me on my social medias like Facebook and Twitter, and as always, peeps, don't forget to ask yourself, have you been edutained?